right, Trojan family, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. Ryan Dybrood here with the USC LAFB show. No surprise here, but USC decides today to officially announce all of their coaching hires and promotions. Gary Patterson was officially announced a few weeks ago and had his press conference. But then, Paul Gonzales gets hired on. We know about Mike Ekeler, even kind of before Gary Patterson, but there was no true announcement. So today, they finally officially announced these hires, and Lincoln Riley spoke about them or gave a quote about the hires. So, easy, quick update for you, but at least wanted to get on here and shout out these officially. And so starting with Mike Ekeler, who is officially announced as the special teams coordinator and linebackers coach. Coach Riley had this to say about the hire. This is an exciting return to USC for Mike and his family. Mike's special teams and linebacker units are elite, and he brings 23 years of Power 4 experience on staffs that have produced some of the nation's finest defenses and special teams. We're thrilled to welcome him back to Los Angeles as part of our program. Again, we've been reporting this for a long time, but officially now announced as not just the special teams coordinator, but also the linebackers coach, which no official announcement here, but that basically confirms that Rob Ryan will kind of be moving into an analyst type role. Just a little bit more on Ekeler. We've talked about him a bunch, but he's entering his 28th football season overall, 23 years at the FBS level, and 22 years at Power 4 schools. He's coached in every Power Conference while serving on staffs at 6 of the 12 winningest programs in college football history, which includes USC, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. This will be his 10th season as special teams coordinator, and he's, as we've said, been known as one of the best special teams coaches in the nation. I think this was the most home run hire of the offseason. I think I've said I'm excited about the prospect of Gary Patterson. We'll see how it plays out. But overall, I think I was happy with it and the direction of the defense that he'll take. But I think Mike Ekeler was the true, shining star, no-brainer hire. You get a guy that basically is in the same position at Nebraska, somewhere he really wanted to be, and you're able to pry him away to come join the ranks at SC. And obviously they did make him linebackers coach as well, whereas he was just special teams coordinator at Nebraska. He was outside linebackers coach previously at Tennessee before going to Nebraska. So, but you think about the kind of two biggest areas of need for this Trojans team, and it was the special teams unit and it was the linebackers. So they're able to knock both of those out. We got to see it on the field, obviously, but you go and address that and you get someone that has done it at a high level across multiple programs and multiple seasons. So of all the hires, you guys know me. I'm always glass half full. I've been pretty pleased with all of them. Hated to see Henny and Belk go, but I think who they were able to replace with made sense. But I do think this Mike Ekeler was the home run hire of the entire offseason. So great to see that is officially announced. The next one, Paul Gonzales, hired as officially the safeties coach and defensive pass game coordinator. So basically takes over what Doug Belk's title. Well, Doug Belk was more secondary coach. He was kind of, these titles, what do they really mean? But he will specifically work with the safeties, which is what Belk did this year once Trevon Reed was brought on. So he'll really slide into what Doug Belk was doing. Also gets that defensive pass game coordinator title as well. Coach Riley says, "We're happy to welcome Paul to the Trojan family. His experience working alongside Coach Patterson, combined with his strong football acumen and energy, will have an immediate impact on our defense. He will quickly elevate the development and performance of our safeties." Blanket statement. Safeties have played really well at USC in Lincoln Riley's tenure, specifically under Doug Belk. When you think of last year, Bishop Fitzgerald being All-American, Kamari Ramsey, we know how great he is, and obviously last year was just kind of had to play all over the place because of injury. Christian Pierce, we've seen develop nicely and become a nice player. Kennedy Urlacher getting some, starting playing time out of necessity late in the season, but really played well for kind of being a young guy that needs to be developed still. So the safety position under Belk, I think, really was performing pretty well. So Gonzales will have some big shoes to fill. But he does have a good pedigree coming from, Baylor just last season, where he was the defensive pass game coordinator and cornerbacks coach there. He coached LeVar Thornton Jr., who earned all Big 12 honors, or honorable mentions, last season. And as we know, or as I've told you, prior to that, he spent 13 years at TCU, most of which was alongside Gary Patterson. So I think Gonzales is a solid coach. He's not like some big household name, but he's a good coach, but more than anything has familiarity with Gary Patterson. I think that was, it seemed like anyway, once Doug Belk was told he would not be promoted to DC, I don't know if the relationship severed necessarily, but it seemed like it was more of one of those like, hey, it might just be best for us to, you find the new opportunity, we'll go and fill your role elsewhere. And so once that was decided, it was like, hey, let's get a guy that knows Gary Patterson, knows this system, but obviously has proven, good coaching and development elsewhere, which Gonzales did, not just at TCU, but also at Baylor. So that's on that one. And then finally, Skyler Jones. This was met with a lot of criticism among the fan base, I think. Everyone's wanting the big name hire. I think this was a fine hire. Skyler Jones officially named USC defensive tackles coach. Coach Riley says, "We are thrilled for Skyler. He has earned this opportunity by consistently developing high-level performers, building meaningful relationships with our players, and demonstrating his commitment to the standard of excellence we expect in our program. He will continue to enhance our defensive line and elevate the talent in our room." Jones has been with USC since 2024, serving as a defensive analyst, but basically the right-hand man to Coach Henne during that time. He was also with Coach Henne for a time back with the Rams, and he's been kind of elsewhere, was with other programs throughout, also with Oregon as a defensive analyst. A rising star. I think this is one of those situations, and I said this when they first hired him, a guy that was probably going to get elevated somewhere. He's rising in the ranks of coaching, so they probably were not going to be able to hang on to him as a defensive analyst. You lose Henne, but this has a clear link and tie to the current room, to the current players that were so close to Henne, but they have a great relationship with Skyler Jones as well, so you kind of keep that camaraderie, collectiveness, and you have faith that he's going to be a developer and kind of handle what has already been built in terms of the foundation of the defensive line, while also giving a little bit more reins back to Coach Sean Nua that he had kind of previously before Coach Henne was hired on. So there's some working parts there, but I think Skyler Jones ultimately will be a solid promotion. And we've seen in the recruitment area already, I just talked this morning, he already goes and gets his first commitment as a defensive tackle coach and gets Isaiah Vandermeide to commit to USC almost immediately. Offered him just last week. Him and Nua called him, offered him, and basically committed a week or less later to USC. And I've said many times, Vandermeide is way better than his 3-star valuation. So don't think it's just like some throwaway commitment. This is a really solid get for USC and for Skyler Jones. So there you have the 3 official announcements. 2 other tidbits here. So remember we talked about Sam Carter also hired. He was he's been with like Purdue, other programs recently. Last year was with Louisiana Tech. Not announced in this string of announcements, which would make me believe that he is added as some kind of analyst. They're not going to announce every single analyst, at least in a big announcement. They might, they're going to update their coaching roster and whatnot. So considering he was not announced in this, unless they're waiting longer, but that tells me he most likely is being added on in some capacity as an analyst, which is a pretty huge get considering he has a really solid resume. and whatnot, if they're able to kind of lure someone who is already a position coach to come here and be an analyst, with the opportunity to promote, later on down the line. So keep you posted anything else I hear, but the fact that it wasn't announced, that's what that leads me to believe. But the staff is set, right? Now, one loss that USC just sustained, and this happened yesterday, Bradley Aoki, who was an offensive analyst working primarily with quarterbacks, was just hired by Alabama as their pass game specialist. Fancy title for analyst, essentially. I'm sure there was a pay increase for that as well. Really bright young kid. He played quarterback at USC, or, was a backup at USC prior to Lincoln Riley getting here. Lincoln Riley gets here, keeps him on as an analyst. He goes to Colorado State for one season where he was the assistant wide receiver coach, and then returned to USC for the last 2 seasons he was here. So another, young guy, rising star. You hate to see someone like that leave that's kind of been a really behind the scenes part of this offense and this quarterback room during his time. But hey, gets a promotion, probably a pay increase. So, you're happy for him and what potentially could lead to his next career move. So he will be leaving, going to Alabama. So that's the one loss. But USC announces their other coaching staff and finalize. So there you have it. We should hopefully have no more coaching news or drama now. Everything should be set. Chad Savage gets his promotion. Zach Hansen obviously didn't leave, and when there was ties to his alma mater at Kansas State. Dennis Simmons is, good and locked in. So offensively, everything's all good. Defensively now looks like the entire staff is set and done. So we should be good moving on any coaching news, but we'll have you covered if anything else comes out. So drop your comments below on, these coaching hires. I know we've talked about them a ton since they've all been, really hired for weeks now, but now officially, your thoughts. You happy with all of them now that the dust is settled? How are you feeling about Skyler Jones? He's already got a commitment. Are you liking Gonzales as defensive backs or safeties coach? Mike Ekeler, that's the home run. I don't think anyone should be upset by that one at all. I think that's the shining star of hires. So let me know in the comments your guys' thoughts on the rest of these. We'll have plenty more USC content coming for you later today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out our merch. You can see it right down below, all of our custom-made USC merch. And if you want, become a member of the channel. Helps us out a ton as we continue building this thing out. So appreciate you, family. As always, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.